Imagine waking up in a hospital bed with no memory of how you got there. Doctors tell you that you're a national hero, but you just feel like a survivor. This is the story of Vesna Vulović, the woman who cheated physics. On January 26, 1972, she didn't just survive a plane crash, she survived a 33,330-foot fall without a parachute. That is over 10 kilometers of pure gravity. Today, we break down the case study of the highest fall in human history. Was it a miracle of biology or a massive Cold War cover-up? Our story begins on what should have been an ordinary day for JAT Yugoslav Airlines Flight 360. The McDonnell Douglas DC-9 was scheduled for a routine flight from Stockholm to Belgrade, with a stopover in Copenhagen. On board was Vesna Vulović, a 22-year-old flight attendant in her bright turquoise uniform. But here's the first strange twist of fate. Vesna wasn't even supposed to be on that flight. She was only there because the airline had mixed her up with another flight attendant who was also named Vesna. It was a simple clerical error that would place her at the center of an unbelievable event. The flight took off from Copenhagen without a hitch, but hidden in the baggage compartment was a briefcase bomb planted by a Croatian nationalist group known as the Youth. At exactly 4:01 p.m., as the plane flew over the mountains of Czechoslovakia, the bomb detonated. The explosion tore the plane apart in midair. The cabin depressurized instantly, sucking passengers and crew out into the freezing, thin air. The plane disintegrated over the village of Sarbiskake. Amidst the chaos and destruction, Vesna's life was spared by another bizarre twist. A heavy food trolley pinned her against the rear section of the fuselage. While others were pulled into the void, she was trapped inside a chunk of the wreckage, which began its long, terrifying plummet to the earth below. Now we get to the big question: how did anyone survive a 10-kilometer fall? This is where the science gets fascinating. Investigators and doctors pieced together a series of perfect conditions that aligned to save her life. First, there was Vesna's personal medical history. She had a history of very low blood pressure, a fact she'd actually hidden from the airline during her medical exam to get the job. When the cabin depressurized, this condition likely caused her to faint almost instantly. This was crucial. By passing out, her body went limp, and more importantly, it prevented her heart from bursting upon impact with the ground. Her body was relaxed, not tensed up for the collision. Second, there's the physics of the impact itself. The section of the fuselage she was in didn't just slam into the ground, it hit a steep, heavily wooded, and snow-covered mountainside. Think of it like a skier hitting a slope. The deep snow and the thick pine branches acted as a natural cushion, a massive shock absorber. The wreckage didn't come to a sudden, fatal stop. Instead, it slid for a considerable distance down the mountain, gradually decelerating and dissipating the incredible force of the impact. And finally, there was the human element. The crash was heard by a local villager named Bruno Honk. Bruno had served as a medic during World War II, and guided by his instincts, he rushed to the crash site. In the dark and the snow, amongst the debris, he heard a scream. It was Vesna. He found her, still partially in the wreckage, her legs trapped but her upper body hanging out. Using his medical training, he was able to provide critical first aid on the spot, keeping her from bleeding out or succumbing to shock until proper rescue teams could arrive. Her low blood pressure, the angle of the slope, and a medic in the right place at the right time, a 1 in a billion combination. But is that the whole story? Over the years, a darker, more conspiratorial narrative emerged. It's a compelling theory, and it gained a lot of traction. A government shooting down a civilian airliner and covering it up. It sounds like something straight out of a spy movie. However, the evidence doesn't quite hold up. The flight data recorders and the cockpit voice recorder, the black box keys, were recovered from the crash. Both sets of data were analyzed by international experts and confirmed the plane's disintegration at the high altitude of over 10,000 meters. Furthermore, in 2024, newly declassified intelligence documents provided even more support for the original bombing theory, even naming the specific individuals suspected of planning and executing the attack. The cover-up theory, while intriguing, seems to fall apart under scrutiny. Vesna Vulović lived until 2016. She recovered from her horrific injuries, which included a fractured skull, 3 broken vertebrae, and 2 broken legs. She became a national hero in Yugoslavia and even received a Guinness World Record for the highest fall survived without a parachute. presented to her by Paul McCartney. She later became a political activist and a powerful symbol of resilience. She once famously said, "I am like a cat. I have had 9 lives." Whether it was a miracle of snow, a fluke of blood pressure, or simply an unbreakable will to live, her story remains the ultimate testament to human survival. But what do you think? Do you believe the official 33,000-foot record backed by the black box data? Or do you think the conspiracy theorists are onto something and the truth is still buried in some secret government file? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If you love deep dive stories like this, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next case study. Thanks for watching.